She calls herself a stay-at-home mom, but she doesn't even have a home. Stephanie Jenkins has TikTok on edge, and this time, the evidence against her paints an even darker picture. Her family situation has spiraled beyond messy drama, filthy motel rooms, relentless instability, and parentification of her eldest daughter. Yet, she insists on portraying herself as blessed and proud to be a stay-at-home mom. In her latest recent video, she shocked viewers by demanding compensation for raising the next generation. But TikTok users are pushing back, questioning how a mom without a home can claim the privileges of a stay-at-home parent. The backlash has raised deeper concerns. At what point does poor decision-making become neglect? Court is in session. Today's case, the people versus Stephanie Jenkins. This isn't just another TikTok drama. This is a full-blown courtroom investigation into a pattern of troubling behavior. Stephanie Jenkins, also known as Homeless Motel Mom, stands accused of allowing her online persona to overshadow the reality of her children's welfare. Charges include misrepresentation of living conditions, portraying herself as blessed and stable while living in cramped unsanitary motels, neglectful parenting, exposing her children to unsafe environments, poor hygiene and parent, exploiting TikTok for sympathy and income, creating content designed to draw donations and pity while overlooking long-term solutions, dismissing constructive advice, ignoring valid concerns from supporters about housing, hygiene, and children's development while conditions deteriorate. This case dives deeper than surface-level headlines. We will analyze Stephanie's statements, her choices, her videos, and the fallout that's now threatening her family's future. Jury, take your seats. Prepare to examine every contradiction, every oversight, and every ignored warning, one exhibit at a time. Stephanie Jenkins, better known online as Homeless Motel Mom, built her platform by documenting the struggles of raising her kids while living in motels. In the beginning, her content struck an emotional chord with viewers who empathized with her journey. A single mother juggling financial hardship, doing her best to keep her children safe and sheltered despite constant setbacks. Early followers described her as resilient, resourceful, and relatable. However, as many more videos surfaced, a different and far more complex reality through her own captions and live streams. Over time, viewers began noticing a pattern of increasingly concerning behaviors and circumstances. A constant refusal to seek stable employment, even when followers and local programs pointed her toward potential opportunities. Commenters often recommended specific job leads, flexible work opportunities, and even remote positions, yet these suggestions were routinely dismissed. With cramped motel rooms showing visible clutter, piled up belongings, questionable hygiene practices, and signs of neglect becoming impossible to ignore, especially her eldest daughter, who has been repeatedly filmed stepping into adult roles, babysitting her younger kids, organizing chores, comforting upset siblings, and managing responsibilities that should fall on the parent.
People out there making money and making videos off me and my life.
Stephanie, why is your oldest daughter forced to constantly take care of your baby? Because, hear me out. If you lived in like a normal house with 4 bedrooms and a backyard and the kids went to school and had somewhat normal lives, I could understand maybe every once in a while, you see your oldest daughter playing with the baby or rocking the baby. You live in a motel. You live in a motel room with 7 people. Okay? You've traumatized your kids quite a bit already, right? Like, can we agree on that? Like, this really isn't the best situation. So why on top of that are you making your oldest child take care of your youngest when my man is literally standing there watching TV doing nothing?
Repeated public pleas for financial assistance, including direct cash apps, TikTok donation prompts, and GoFundMe campaigns, while seeming to overlook practical, long-term solutions like seeking housing programs or steady employment. Initially, her transparency drew sympathy, but gradually, former supporters shifted their tone. Comment sections turned into long threads filled with concern, disappointment, and advice. Many offered links to community programs, shelters, and job networks. Some even claimed they personally reached out with local housing leads. According to multiple commenters, these offers often went unanswered and unacknowledged. What worries audiences most now is that it's not just TikTok keeping an eye on Stephanie's content. Rumors suggest that CPS may also be closely monitoring her situation due to escalating concerns over the children's welfare. Exhibit A. Stephanie's reset video begins with her bold request. I deserve to be paid. I'm a stay at home mom raising the future. She delivered the statement confidently, almost defiantly, as though she was speaking for every mother balancing motherhood and sacrifice. She framed her role as essential and undervalued, positioning herself as a voice for parents everywhere raising the next generation. But this is where the contradictions began to unravel for viewers. Stephanie is homeless. She relocates her kids from one cramped motel to another every 28 days, forced to restart their routines endlessly because of temporary housing restrictions, expiring stays, and overdue bills. For her children, this instability is exhausting and disorienting, but for Stephanie, it has become normalized, even woven into her content. Despite this chaos, she doubled down and presented 5 reasons why she refuses to work, speaking with authority as though her position was beyond dispute. But these justifications landed poorly with viewers, who saw a sharp disconnect between her narrative and reality. The constant relocations are dismantling her children's sense of security and stability. The lack of permanent home contradicts her identity as a stay-at-home parent. Her growing dependence on TikTok audiences for sympathy and financial support undermines the independence she portrays online. This video marked a turning point in Stephanie's narrative. For many, it was the moment the carefully crafted illusion cracked. Supporters began openly questioning her, wondering whether her decisions were truly about her children's well-being or about maintaining the persona and content strategy that fuel her online presence. Reason 1. I don't want to miss moments with my kids. Stephanie says she doesn't want her kids in daycare and claims she is blessed to be present for every moment, portraying herself as a hands-on, deeply involved mother. But when viewers looked closer, these so-called moments revealed a very different reality. Watching her kids haul heavy bags and belongings from one motel to the next every few weeks, a constant cycle of uprooting that disrupts their sense of normalcy. Cramped nights in a single one-room setup where beds are shared, personal space doesn't exist, and the children are left without stability or privacy. Her eldest daughter stepping into a full-time caregiver role for her younger siblings, handling tasks like feeding, soothing, and managing daily routines, responsibilities far beyond her age. Stephanie frames these situations as quality time spent together as a family, but for many viewers, the reality looks different. Instead of creating secure, lasting memories, her choices keep the children trapped in ongoing instability, making them carry burdens they should never have to bear.
Did y'all see the new Resilient Jenkins video where Stephanie calls herself a blessed stay-at-home mom? Stephanie, let me say this in the nicest way possible. There is nothing about your situation that has you blessed about being a motel mom. Considering the fact that when y'all moved into the motel, Drew was not even working. He still probably isn't working. You're not working. And clearly social media is not working for you.
Reason 2. I make the same money from home. Stephanie claims she makes as much online as she would at a full-time job. But when viewers dug deeper into her content, analytics, and lifestyle, the numbers simply didn't add up. Her views have dropped dramatically, with once viral videos now barely reaching a fraction of their previous audience. Some uploads that used to pull in hundreds of thousands of views are now struggling to cross even a few thousand. Engagement is falling across the board. Fewer comments, fewer likes, fewer shares, and shorter watch times, signaling a sharp decline in audience trust. Many of her videos aren't even monetized due to low eligibility or flagged content, and the few that are generate inconsistent revenue that fluctuates widely from week. Even if Stephanie did manage to make enough during occasional spikes, where is the evidence of actual financial stability? Where is the permanent home she claims she can afford? Why is her family still trapped in a revolving cycle of relocations and cramped motel rooms if the income truly matches that of a stable, full time salary? Viewers point out that TikTok income is inherently volatile, dependent on algorithm shifts, fleeting trends, and sponsorship deals that can vanish overnight. Relying on such unpredictable earnings while dismissing steady work opportunities raise serious concerns about her. For many, her claims feel unrealistic and misleading. TikTok jurors have begun calling this a delusional at best and deliberate manipulation at worst, suspecting that she may be exaggerating her financial security to justify avoiding traditional employment and sidestepping accountability for her living situation. Reason 3. It works best for our family. She insists this arrangement works best, presenting it as the ideal solution for her family's needs. Yet, in the same breath, she openly admits, I actually miss working memory care a lot. That single statement struck viewers as deeply revealing. If she genuinely misses working and her children desperately need the stability and security a steady home could provide, why isn't she pursuing employment? Followers argue that returning to memory care, a field where she already has proven experience, could immediately offer a stable paycheck, better housing options, and a safer, healthier environment for her kids. Viewers point out that memory care is one of the few industries in her area with consistent demand, flexible schedules, and benefits that could cover essentials her family currently lacks. By refusing to even explore that path, critics feel Stephanie is knowingly prioritizing her online persona and TikTok hustle over her children's basic needs. Instead, she doubles down on the unsustainable lifestyle, continuing to rely heavily on unpredictable TikTok income while simultaneously expressing frustration about mounting bills, unpaid rent, and ongoing financial instability. This contradiction between her words and actions has fueled intense backlash, with many questioning whether her decisions are truly based on what works best for the family or whether they are rooted in maintaining the content driven image that keeps her relevant. Reason 4. I want to start a business from home. Stephanie claims she plans to launch a home based business, framing it as part of her long term plan to support her family and achieve independence. She frequently references this big idea in her videos, often speaking with enthusiasm about becoming her own boss and creating generational wealth. However, when viewers began pressing for specifics, her explanations raised more questions than answers. She has provided no concrete details about what the business would actually be. No products, no service, no niche, and no defined business model. There is no timeline, funding strategy, or roadmap. She hasn't shared any steps toward planning, such as budgeting, saving startup capital, or researching her. To many, it feels less like a genuine plan and more like a rehearsed talking point meant to appear ambitious while sidestepping difficult conversations about seeking traditional employment. Viewers argue this business plan excuse has been recycled for months without any tangible process, no prototypes, no branding, no target audience, and no updates to next. Critics believe the business exists more in theory than in practice, fueling the perception that Stephanie prioritizes maintaining an image of ambition for her TikTok persona rather than taking actionable steps towards real solutions for her family's stability. Reason 5. My choices are between me and God. She concludes her video by saying, the choices I make involve me and God. I don't have to listen to anyone. She delivers this statement firmly, using faith as her shield and implying absolute independence in her decision making. While faith driven choices are deeply personal, many viewers saw this as a troubling refusal to accept constructive advice from those genuinely concerned about her children's safety and well-being. People have offered resources for housing programs, food banks, employment opportunities, and even local support networks. Yet, these offers appear consistently dismissed. By cutting herself off from practical solutions in favor of doing it her way, Stephanie reinforces the perception that she prioritizes control over improvement, even when the advice could directly enhance her kids' quality of life. To many, this comes across not as empowerment, but as neglect masked behind personal belief. Exhibit B. In her recent dishwashing video, viewers couldn't look away, and not for the reason Stephanie intended. Flies everywhere, swarming the dishes piled on the counters, covering the sticky, cluttered floor beneath, landing on Stephanie's bare legs and arms repeatedly. Even more alarming, Stephanie didn't react. She didn't swat them away, didn't pause filming, and didn't acknowledge the infestation on camera, behaving as if this situation were entirely normal. The casualness disturbed viewers, who quickly realized this wasn't a rare occurrence but likely an ongoing problem. And where there are flies, there are maggots. Viewers immediately flooded the comments with warnings about sanitation and safety, expressing fears that food contamination and bacterial growth could pose serious health risks. Multiple users pointed out that children living in an environment with this level of filth face potential illness, infections, and long-term exposure to unhygienic conditions that could trigger intervention from authorities.
Jenkins have more flies than kids in that hotel room. Stephanie, we're gonna do what you hate. Pookie, we're gonna slow the video down and we're gonna take a look at what's going on in that room. She got a fly on her leg. She's got a fly on her leg and she didn't even notice she has a fly on her leg. That means she's used to flies on her legs. Oh, here's another one. Coming in hot. I feel like DJ Khaled. And another one. Stephanie loves blaming her kids for this mess, but there's a floss pick and a Q-tip. Those aren't kid things, girl. This is more of a kid mess, but like, girl, tell them to stop eating in their bed. Get a little nook or something. You gotta separate your room in sections. Everybody gets a corner. Girl, if you got that many flies in that room, that means you got maggots. Period. Pookie, you gotta do better.
Exhibit C. Stephanie claims she stays at home for her kids, but in reality, her eldest daughter has become the de facto assistant parent, taking on responsibilities far beyond her years. Babysitting younger siblings for long stretches while Stephanie films TikToks or focuses on content creation, handling daily chores like cleaning, dishes, and even helping prepare meals in the cramped motel room. Stepping into emotional roles too, comforting upset siblings and managing situations that could fall under adult care. Covering duties Stephanie and Drew avoid, including organizing belongings during frequent relocations between motels. Parentification isn't just unfair, it's deeply damaging. Experts warn that children forced into adult roles too early are more likely to experience anxiety, burnout, and even fractured childhoods, often carrying emotional and psychological scars into adulthood. Viewers have voiced concerns that this pattern could rob Stephanie's daughter of her own childhood, as she is put in positions of responsibility rather than being allowed to simply be a kid. Exhibit D. Stephanie repeatedly cites bankruptcy, yet she continues to avoid seeking stable employment, which has left viewers increasingly frustrated and questioning her financial decisions. She's been homeless for nearly a year, moving her children from motel to motel, constantly uprooting their routines and sense of without establishing any form of permanent housing. Bills continue to pile up month after month, creating a cycle of overdue payments and late fees, while her TikTok-based income remains unstable, unpredictable, and highly dependent on algorithm-driven engagement. There is no clear, actionable plan to secure long-term housing or financial stability, despite numerous suggestions, resources, and community programs repeatedly offered by supporters. Viewers argue that staying home is a privilege, one reserved for families with financial security and stability. Without steady income or a structured financial plan, Stephanie's decisions to remain unemployed transforms into a dangerous gamble, risking her children's safety, health, and future stability while relying almost entirely on an unstable online income stream. Exhibit E: the CPS risk. Every choice Stephanie makes escalates the chances of a wellness check and potential CPS involvement. A fly-infested, cluttered room where piles of unwashed dishes, trash, and unsanitary have become the norm. Parentified children taking on roles and responsibilities far beyond their years, from babysitting siblings to handling chores. Constant relocation between motels, forcing the children to restart routines, adjust to new environments, and live without stability or security. No concrete plan for stable income or permanent housing, leaving the family stuck in a cycle of uncertainty and instability. If CBS intervenes, these cumulative living conditions, lack of hygiene, safety concerns, financial instability, and emotional strain on the children will weigh heavily against her, potentially resulting in mandated wellness checks, parenting evaluations, or even temporary custody reassessments. The fallout. TikTok is reacting strongly and the backlash continues to escalate. Engagement is falling rapidly across all her recent uploads, with once loyal audiences now. Former supporters are unfollowing in significant numbers, expressing frustration over repeated contradictions and unaddressed concerns. Entire threads, duets, and reaction videos now speculate about CPS involvement, with many viewers openly questioning whether intervention might be necessary for the children's safety. Despite the growing backlash, Stephanie continues to say she feels blessed and insists her situation is under control. But the videos tell a very different story, one where her choices and refusal to make changes are increasingly seen as putting her children's well-being and future at risk. The judge's analysis. This case is bigger than Stephanie Jenkins. It shines a spotlight on the intersection of influencer culture, parental responsibility, and child welfare. When chaos becomes content and instability turns into monetized storytelling, it raises urgent questions about safety, ethics, and accountability. Who protects the children caught in the middle of content strategies designed to generate engagement? Stephanie's situation forces us and the broader online community. When does documenting personal struggles cross into exploitation of minors? At what point does empathy from audiences turn into enabling harmful behavior? How much responsibility do creators have when their choices directly impact their children's well-being? And where should platforms like TikTok draw the line between free expression and safeguarding vulnerable families? The verdict. Members of the jury, you've seen every exhibit, you've heard the contradictions, witnessed the infestations, and followed the unstable cycle this family continues to live in. You've heard the financial inconsistencies, seen the videos, and reviewed the mounting concerns from the public. Stephanie Jenkins calls herself a stay-at-home mom, but there is no home, there is no safety, there is no stability. And now, the questions surrounding her choices are louder. Verdict pending. Here in this courtroom, you decide. Is Stephanie guilty of neglect? Is she misunderstood? Or is this story of someone overwhelmed by circumstances beyond her control? Comment your verdict below and let us know where you stand. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because this trial and the fallout around it is only just beginning.